Dear audiences, welcome to our Gerard Retreat House Real Life Stories Radio. We are honored to give you our sincere greetings in the love of Jesus Christ as well as Mother of Perpetual Help. May the love and peace of the Holy Trinity be with you and with your family. This program will be guided by Father John Quinn Luan Gok, our Redemptorists in Hanoi and the members of Gerard Retreat House. This radio is broadcasted with the purpose of sharing our experiences, discoveries, confirmation about problems relating to mental and spiritual illness, vocational discernment, religious and married life and the ways that God has been leading us. New stories will be updated continuously on radio and website svconggio.net at 9 p.m. on Sundays. We hope that it can bring you into new perspectives, new hope, new directions and new saving roads about human mysteries, illness, sorrows, and healing. Highlighting that these stories can be really useful for those people who are suffering from similar problems as per other people have already experienced and been healed. Dear audiences, every people are an unknown from birth. Therefore, there will be no sympathy without sharing, no healing if there is no treatment. But how to cure with such strange diseases and incurable illness? Today, Gerard Retreat House Real Life Stories Radio would like to send you the story of Huong Lien, from the peaceful mountains of Ha Giang. What was the strange disease she had, and how did she get rid of them? To know the truth about that disease, we invite you listen to the story, Overcoming Myself, through the reading voice of Bao Yen.
Surely, every human being wishes to have joy, peace, and success in life. One way to find happiness ideal for my life, it is God, the wise man who leads my life. He led me to a retreat through a student of Vinh community in Hanoi. For me, when I first arrived at Hanoi, I was like fish out of water. However, Father John, my spiritual director, greeted me, and all brothers and sisters in the Gerard Retreat House warmly welcomed me as a family member to take care of. In the Holy Spirit, through the guidance of the spiritual director, I entered the spiritual warfare and the journey to discover the truth of my life. For me, this journey was not easy at all. But with the grace of God, I've also completed this intense retreat, and I would like to share a little bit about the joys that God rewards me in this desert journey. Do you know, after knowing that I had anxiety disorder, I felt extremely worried and scared, because I had never thought that I would have this type of psychological disorder. I realized that even when I did very simple daily courses like going to the market, blowing rice, cleaning house, etc. With everyone, I was extremely worried. Many times I lost my appetite and could not sleep well just to consider what to buy tomorrow and how to cook it. While cooking, I kept nervous, rushing, dropping, and spilling things. At that time, I'd look coldward. My heart beat too fast, I couldn't calm down. Even in any words or a small action of other people was enough to make me nervous. When I had to make decisions, I was also very confused. I didn't know whether it was good or not, whether it was wrong to do so. In all the work every day, I was always in the state of confusion, anxiety, and nervousness. I was indecisive in everything. Why did I become like that? Obeying to my spiritual director, I set out to find its cause. Looking back to the past, I realized that the time when I was in my mother's womb, my mom was the breadwinner, so she had to worry about food, clothes, and money for the whole family. My mom was very worried. Sometimes she lost her appetite and lost sleep to finish her job. Perhaps because of that, I inherited completely from my mom those confusion, anxiety, nervousness. In addition, living environment also affected me greatly. I remembered at the first days of school, I got a 10 score in math. At that time, I felt happy. But boyfriends kept teasing, laughing at me, and mocking that 10 points. Those words made me really sad. From that moment, I became passive, quiet, and less smiled, less played. I lost my own confidence and abilities. School days were so frustrating. I finished elementary school with a teacher's report, slow learning, few talking. It was associated with my childhood. In addition, when I was studying, my friends were often teasing me. Her sister was crazy, abnormal. Those words made me even more depressed. My friends shunned me. When I was in secondary school, I was able to go to another school, another environment. However, I still carried my shyness, lack of confidence, and being silent type. So, the first few days, some bad boys teased me every day, with actions like pulling hair, telling me to crawl under the table, beating unfairly. I could only cry. The small, skinny body made me look like an abnormal person in class. For me, to go to school like going Excel. In fears, school days with discouragement were more than days with joys, so it was difficult for me to absorb lessons. But I also had to pass the exam transition. However, luck didn't smile at me. During the days of high school, I continued to suffer from my friends' teasing and ridicule words. Ugly girl, ruffled hair. Every time I wrote on the board, I had to hear the word, motto of class 10B3. That sentence haunted me terribly. In my mind, I was an ugly girl. So, sadness came to me. I didn't know how to talk, to share with anyone. I felt so dumb. In my mind, I always heard those mocks. I became a quiet girl, less involved in school and class activities. Those words kept going on, crushing my life. I carry with me an inferiority complex disease, huge inferiority. It ingrained and molded me in it. It made me fear, lack of confidence in everything. I didn't dare to do what I liked. I became confused, anxious in everything. I lost myself. After finding the cause of embarrassing, anxious, panic disease, the spiritual director gave me exercise on autistic methods to practice gradually. Every day, I repeated the words like, I am calm, I can do it, I will succeed. After every time I reminded myself in awareness, I focused on each task. Just like that, gradually, I became more confident while worries, fears faded away. I still persevered in practicing. After a time, Father instructed me to continue taking deep breaths, consciously learning what was happening in me. I practiced the exercise to handle my thoughts and actions. The more I practiced, the more I became confident and accomplished the job better than before. Next, Father led me to discover the silver and jewels in me. When I discovered this, I found more strengths and abilities which I had buried for years because of worries, fears, and embarrassment. Discovering my precious fortune, self-confidence, and calm made me stronger and more relaxed. Also, during the long retreat, I was happy to witness the spiritual fathers healing to sisters. who were afraid of worms, snakes, leeches, cockroaches, jackals, rats. Depending on the history of each person, the animals causing them fear were different. When curing the hypnosis method for sisters, they were scared to scream. For me, it was horrible screams in fear. When I heard that horrible screams, my legs and arms trembled. My mind was stunned. Dizzy head, I was in panic. My heart beat very fast. My whole body got cold. I ran away without knowing it was night or day. There were people or without anyone. I just knew that I couldn't accept that screams. The fear of screams overwhelmed my sense of consciousness. I ran away unconsciously, and sisters in the house were very difficult to catch up to me. In my sleep, I was always startled in the state of hearing someone would shout at me. Also, every time I heard the screams of children, I panicked. When hearing the ambulance siren, a light noise, a trumpet, drums, I was always in the state of worrying, though they didn't do anything to me. The state of fear, tiredness, my tension was always beside me. Feeling that there was a deep cause making me terrified of that shouting, so Father gave me tracing courses. Having worked hard for months, I found out the cause of the disease called ran for screams. It was 2 years old when I accidentally burnt the house. At that time, the winter wind had strong wind blowing, making the house burn quickly. So my mom screamed, crying out in panic, fear, and anxiety. The screams and hurried actions of extinguishing fire went deep into a 2-year-old girl like me and formed my first fear. Then, when I was 3 years old, while I was playing, there was a woman shouting straight at my face. I only remembered that the woman who had a very sharp scream made my fear bigger. Next, when I was 6 years old, I went to study the catechisms alone in the evening. I saw the tall, big black man suddenly threatened a loud voice. That terrifying voice made me extremely scared. Once again, that scream haunted me. Since then, I have brought another fear, that was fear of ghosts. My mom screams when I was only 2 years old, my neighbors when I was 3 years old, along with the scare of that young man, formed a fear of screams and ghosts in myself. After struggling to find the cause, I understood the fear was gradually being buried in the deepest level. It controlled me, it drowned and locked my real self into it. Then, every time I heard the screams or scares, my fears around, it reflected my childhood feeling of fear, and I relived the feelings of fear that could not understand why. Dear friends, above are the causes and consequences of psychological illness, nervousness, anxiety, embarrassment, and fear in me. They had a long story. They are poison doses that killed me. After months of searching for causes, I was very stressed and tired and sometimes depressed to give up. However, because of the desire to be as normal as others, to understand myself, and with the belief that God Himself would liberate me, I must meditate for the second time in a long time. Past fears such as fear of ghosts, fear of the night, fear of noise, fear of being threatened, I've been able to heal by sitting in front of God and begging Him to help me find the cause. Now the root causes are clear and I was healed completely. I also hope that no one would make excuses for others. Whether a word, an irony, or a bad act is enough to ruin a person's life. Furthermore, I wish through the fear that was terrible for me, you could also find the cause of your fear through the help of God, who created each of us.
Thank you for listening to the Radio Gerard Retreat House Real Life Stories. We wish this hearty sharing will be useful for you. And it's possible that someone in the same situation will also have a chance for being healed. Dear friends, if you feel this story gives you something interesting or useful, please click the register button to update the next broadcast. If there is any suggestion or comment for our program, please send us via email nhatinhamgierado@gmail.com. Wish you all a new week full of joy and peace of Jesus Christ. Thank you so much and see you again on the next program.